8 is enough? Not even close. The Duggars have their own Brady Bunch times 2 plus a few. Some families would consider 2 or 3 kids to be enough, let alone 19. So we sent our Rennell Roberts to the Duggar home to find out how they make it all work.
Hi there.
We're waiting. Go, go, go. Yay! There she goes. She's off and running.
I think my phone is ringing. Hold on a second.
By now, you've probably heard of the Duggar family, Jim, Bob, Michelle, and their 19 biological children.
There's Jana, John David, Jill, Jessa, Ginger, Joseph.
They just began their 6th season of 19 Kids and Counting. Their hit reality show airs Monday nights on TLC at 10 p.m. It documents their daily life and has captured the birth of their 5 youngest children. Michelle gave me a tour of the 7,000 square foot home that they built themselves.
Next room is the pantry. This is where we have all the food.
Now this is stocked like an expert stocks a grocery store. Do the children do this?
Well, the children do now, but Dad's the one that taught them because he used to work at a grocery store.
For the record, the Duggars do 40 loads of laundry per week, spend $3,000 a month on groceries, and have lived completely debt-free for over 20 years. But there's no doubt that the first question most people ask them is, why have so many children?
We had our first child, Josh, 4 years into marriage, and then I went back on the pill, and then I ended up getting pregnant while I was on the pill, and I lost that baby. I had a miscarriage, and at that point was when we really began to evaluate what we were thinking, and with our own hands, with our own lack of knowledge, we had destroyed our own baby, and that was devastating. We got on our knees and we cried out to God and we said, Father, forgive us and give us a love for children like you love children. And when He says that children are a gift and a blessing and a reward, we have seen that lived out now for the last 23 years. It's been a lot of hard work, but much joy, much, much joy.
Jim Bob manages several commercial properties to provide for the family and never imagined he'd be a media sensation.
I never dreamed in a million years that all this would happen, but these are just window of time that God's opened up to minister to millions of people. And our prayer is that many people come to know the Lord and maybe to start a relationship with Christ and start making right choices with their life.
This large household runs like a well-oiled machine, with each member pitching in.
I have to go to all the bathrooms and get the laundry. They don't have a bucket, but my mom and dad do.
You'd think Michelle has her hands full between making grocery lists, feeding, and driving kids to and from appointments. But they're not just her children, they're also her students. That's right, Michelle even homeschools.
Why do you think the country and the world is just so fascinated by your family?
It could be a number of things. I really think maybe just the sheer curiosity of how a family with 19 children functions, but I also believe that there is a vacuum in America and even in each individual's life of where they want to know the answers to life's questions. It's that vacuum where only really God's Spirit can fill. And so when people connect with that aspect of our lives, I think that is what makes the difference.
Michelle developed complications in her last pregnancy, and little Josie arrived 3 months earlier than expected. Since the NICU experience was still fresh in Michelle's mind, I asked her if she's open to having more babies in the near future.
I'm 44, and if that would happen, we would be thrilled, but it'll just be a matter of waiting to see what the Lord has in store for us.
Their lives may seem reminiscent of the Waltons, but life's not always easy, and the Duggars do have their share of critics.
There's people that don't like us because of the size family that we have, but we've had many emails from people who have said, like this one lady the other day said, I was getting ready to have an abortion, and I turned on the TV, And I saw your show, and I thought, if these people can do it with 17 children, I can do it with one, and decided not to have an abortion. And I'm so thankful for testimonies like that because it keeps us going. There's so many encouraging emails of people that have came to know the Lord, or maybe families that have started taking their family to church and getting involved and giving their life to the Lord, and that's what it's all about.
Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar are also the authors of a brand new book. This one is called A Love That Multiplies, and we welcome them to the 700 Club. Hello.
Good
Hello.
morning.
Well, we've heard why in that piece you chose to give up birth control, but has there ever been a point along the way as you grew and built your family where you said to each other, or maybe just quietly to yourselves, maybe we've gone too far?
I think probably when I was expecting our 7th baby, I began to realize this was impossible. What was I thinking? And yet, I think at that point, I remembered what a great man of God said, don't question in the darkness what God has shown you in the light. And I think those days of having 6 babies under the age of 5 was very overwhelming. But we continued to just love those children, train them, and teach them to love God. And now we are enjoying the fruit of all that hard work as we have these older children that love God and really have a servant's heart.
You mentioned training. One thing that everyone notices about your family is that your children are incredibly polite. They're remarkably well behaved. Each one seems to pitch in. What have you done to be able to raise them in such a manner so that they really wind up I mean, when somebody's bringing cameras into your home, we are seeing your family as it is, and it never seems to be an issue. How is that so?
Well, we feel like we always have lots of little ones that are still in training. Of course, all of us are, but our heart's desire from the very beginning, we felt like God really laid on our hearts to train our children 2 things that were most important in their life. That if, number 1, they love God with their whole heart, soul, mind, and strength, and number 2, that they would love others, reach out with a servant's heart to love and meet the needs of others, then we tell them often, you will be a success in life. No matter what God calls you to do, if you will do those 2 things, you will be a success.
With so many children, I have often wondered this as I've watched your program. Do you ever feel like it's difficult to have time for each one to feel like you're focused on them, like they matter? I mean, especially when kids go through teenage years, there's so many issues in life. Do you ever have children that feel left out, and how do you deal with that?
Well, I think one of the beautiful things about the dynamics of our family is early on we decided to homeschool our children. And so that has enabled us to spend lots of time with our children. And then just when I'm working through a spelling test with one of them, we may come across a word and then it stirs something in their mind and we begin to talk in a deeper conversation than just spelling words. And I think there are opportunities throughout the day that we purpose to go deep into their lives, and especially with those teenagers. Oh my, I think we sit up late nights in our room talking to those older children and just letting them share their hearts with mom and dad, because we tell them we are there to love you, to pray for you, to help you through those times, because we've been there ourselves. We know how it is, and so that's what we're here for, is to love them and to pray them through.
Well, we asked our Facebook fans if they had any questions for you. So here's one from Jessica who says, Jim, how do you have so much patience with 19 kids? I only have 3 and find it very hard to keep calm all the time.
Well, it's a daily challenge to try to have the right response when different situations happen. I mean, like for instance, sometimes I'll find my tools laying out in the yard, and they've been rained on and getting rusty or something like that.
But it's not just at my house.
Yeah, but we've asked our children to help us with that, if they see us talking with sharp words or raising our voice, for them to come up and say, Mommy, Daddy, please, just maybe you're going over the line there, whatever. And we try to keep each other accountable as a family to talk with soft words and to have the right response. And I think as our family is accountable to each other, that really helps. And we pray that each one of us will learn to talk with the right words.
Here's another question. This one is from Jeannie, who says, have you thought about adopting your next child?
We actually have thought about adoption. That has been something that we have prayed about and talked about, and even we've gone over to other countries to help them with their adoption processes to speed up some of those things. But at this point, we haven't began that process, but we definitely are praying about it. Our older children are open to it immediately. I mean, they would love to adopt as many as we could get, and so we're open to that.
Well, you are the ultimate picture of the saying, room for one more.
It's our motto.
Well, if you want to hear more from the Duggar family, check out their book. The book is called A Love That Multiplies. It's an up-close view of how they make it work. This is in stores nationwide. It's fascinating, it's inspiring, and it will bless you and your family. Also be sure to set your DVRs because the season premiere of 19 Kids and Counting begins June 7th on TLC. So check your local listings for times. And Jim, Bob, and Michelle, thank you so much for being with us today on the 700 Club. God bless you.
Thank you.